Okay. So one thing I want to explain to you guys is like how to make a part smooth and sort of like what goes into it. So imagine you have your body piece that we want to make sure the like stomach is really really smooth and round. So imagine you're sanding this thing, right? And like so imagine you have a shape like this for like the stomach. Just think about this as like a cross section of the stomach, right? So when this thing is printing, um, it's gonna have a bunch of layer lines, right? So I think specifically, I think like I think that we are gonna print it like this because the threads have to be printed vertically. So if you think about, um, okay, so imagine, so we're probably printing down like the top would be the build plate, and we're printing down, right? Um, So the way that your lines are going to look are sort of stacked like this. So imagine just like each of these green boxes is a layer line. So what's going to happen is while you're sanding this thing, you're going to see all the layer lines. You're going to see so basically when you're sanding this thing, you have you can see all the layer lines because like this isn't a smooth curve, right? You see this portion, you see this portion, you see this portion, you see everything that like isn't consistently a smooth curve. So what you're going to be doing um while you're sanding is basically like leveling everything out all along like the same contour or smooth curve that I've drawn, right? So the infill is really good for filling in large layer gaps. So your infill can fill up all of this and all of this and all of this so that you can get to like a smooth curve, right? So your infill is really good for filling in like the very, very large gaps, right? And then let's say once you've filled in all the large gaps, it's still not perfect. Like, let's say you miss a little bit, and instead of going all the way to the left, you get to there, right? So now let me pick a different color. Let's pretend black is your filler primer. So your filler primer is for all like your minor imperfections. So the reason why you use filler primer is to like fill up all those small gaps and bring it all to one contour that you can sand down. So when you're laying on filler primer, it's always like you can overuse it. You can use a high amount. So basically, let's say I did a really thick layer of filler primer and filled it all the way to here and all the way to here and all the way to here, making sure that the gaps are completely filled. Well, now all we have to do is go back and sand it. And because all those gaps are completely filled, we just have to bring it all down to one contour. So it's nice and smooth. So sometimes it's good to like be aggressive with how much filler primer you're using so that like you overfill all of those gaps and make sure everything is completely filled, and then you sand it all down. So it's okay to, use a lot of filler primer, let it dry before sanding, but it's okay to use a lot because you want to really fill those gaps. And who cares if the filler primer starts to run or whatever because you've used too much. But it's a good idea to fill all of those gaps, and then we bring it down by sanding and try and get it all to one smooth contour. That's the goal.